Hi, I'm Maddie, and this is my informative speech. Before I get started, I'd like for you to think about just how much sugar you think you eat in a day, and how much sugar you probably should be eating in a day, if any at all. Well, according to UCSF, the average adult male is supposed to eat about no more than 9 teaspoons of sugar a day, which equals about 38 grams of sugar. For women, we're supposed to eat no more than 6 teaspoons of sugar per day, which is about 25 grams. For children, though, they're not supposed to eat more than, or consume more than 3 to 6 teaspoons of sugar a day. This is according to height, weight, age, all of that. And that is between 12 and 25 grams of sugar a day. So it seems reasonable. However, the typical or average American adult is consuming about 19 and a half teaspoons of sugar per day, which equals about 82 grams, which is far more than anyone should be taking in. So in this speech, one of the main things I'm going to talk about is how much sugar we're eating and how much we should be eating and what it's doing to our bodies and our brain, and some ways to avoid some of the added sugars in our lives. So first, I want to talk about what sugar's in, which is the leading sources of added sugar in the American diet are soft drinks, fruit drinks, flavored yogurts, cereals, cookies, cakes, candies, all desserts. But as you noticed, like I said, flavored yogurts and cereals. Those are things that children and adults eat for breakfast on a daily basis, thinking it's healthy, it's good for your body. But those are full of sugar without even knowing it. There's even sugar in items you wouldn't think about them, such as soups, breads, cured meats like salami and pepperoni, and sausages and bacon, and in ketchup. Ketchup is super high in sugar. In fact, most processed foods contain sugar, and it's troubling because that's the easiest food to access is processed food because it's in all stores, and they actually add sugar to processed foods to extend shelf lives and add flavor, according to Harvard, their medical department. However, what I want you to know is when I'm talking about sugar today, I'm talking about refined sugar, which is processed sugar, not natural sugar. Natural sugar is what you find in your fruits, things that are naturally sweet. So you should always check your labels to see how much sugar is in something. And when I say check the labels, read the ingredients and see how far down the sugar is in the list. And so after learning that sugar is in more than we even know is useful, but we need to find out what it's actually doing to our bodies, and is the effect great enough to make some changes in how much sugar we're consuming. So now I'm going to get into some of the effects of sugar. The first one being that it's actually really addictive. And when we eat sugar, dopamine is released. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is a key part of the reward circuit in our brain. And it gives us the feelings of pleasure. And because of that, we begin to crave sugar because it makes us feel good in the moment of eating it. And our bodies can even feel withdrawals from it. Kind of like our bodies can do that with caffeine. So you might get a headache or feel lethargic or kind of sick. The same thing happens when you stop eating sugar. And I actually had an experience. I did the Whole30, and so I cut out all processed sugars for 30 days. And within the first week of doing it, I had headaches, and I didn't have very much energy, and I craved sweet things. So I would eat fruit, and it was like the best thing ever because of the natural sugars. But after not eating any sugar for a week, maybe 2 weeks, is when I started to stop craving it, and I had more energy, and my brain was a lot clearer, and I felt really good. But anyway, now I'm going to talk about some effects on children's brains. It affects their attention span and memory in children, and a recent study shows signs that a high fiber breakfast, such as oatmeal, shredded wheats, bananas, whole grain pancakes, etc., help keep children's adrenaline consistent throughout the day, making the school day a more productive experience for them. As many of us know also that sugar is really high in calories, which can lead to obesity, which is a huge problem in America right now. And due to the obesity, that leads to type 2 diabetes. And actually, in a new Stanford study, they ended up finding a direct link between consuming too much sugar and getting type 2 diabetes. So now that we know that sugar affects our bodies in a negative way, we can find some simple ways to avoid these processed sugars. Some ways to avoid them are to check your labels and check the ingredients. I just checked the strawberry jam at my work, and or it was strawberry syrup, but we didn't have any jam, so I was going to use it. And then I looked at the ingredients, and the first ingredient was corn syrup. The second ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. The third ingredient was strawberries. And then the fourth ingredient on this was sugar. So I decided not to, and I actually just used fresh strawberries that we had and smashed them up, which leads to a great way to show ways that we can avoid something like that, where rather than giving all these children a sugary breakfast, I mashed up regular strawberries. And if I had more time, I'd put a little bit of gelatin and cook it down with some water and lemon juice. And then that becomes like a jam. And you can add like a tablespoon of sugar, which is going to go a long way. And it's actually more cost effective to make your own jam, or to make your own treats at home, such as like fruit leather, where you can blend up fruit and lay it on a cookie sheet and bake it at like 150 to 200 degree oven for 4 to 5 hours, maybe less. And that's going to cut down your processed sugar a ton. You can also use natural sweeteners such as stevia. That's a great one. It's plant-based. And just remember that moderation is key, because I think all in all, they say everything is good in moderation, and I agree. And I wouldn't say it's necessary to completely stop eating all sugar, but just be aware of where it's coming from and how much is in what you're eating. So I just want you all to remember that it's in things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. It has negative effects on your body, and there's ways to avoid it. So thanks. I hope that was helpful.